Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. The Manchester Writing School and the Manchester Centre for Gothic Studies are delighted to welcome you tonight for an evening that promises, I think, to be a really special one. We have in store a reading, of course, by Ahmed Saadawi and his translator, Jonathan Wright, who will both be reading in English and Arabic from Ahmed's superlative novel, Frankenstein in Baghdad. I'm Lynnie Blake, I'm head of the Manchester Centre for Gothic Studies, and as you can see, I'm introducing the event and I'll be chairing the question and answer session that follows. We have scheduled questions from myself and from Nick from the Writing School, but I hope there'll be time for yourselves to ask any questions that you may wish. The evening, of course, is made extra special by the fact that it's 200 years since the publication of Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, which, of course, Ahmed's novel references in the figure of the what's-its-name, the creature composited of body parts of people killed in the sectarian violence that swept across Iraq in the wake of the American invasion. Ahmed's creature, like Shelley's, is a composite of parts, a hideous monster on the outside who, in this instance, comes to prey on innocent and guilty alike as parts of him rot, drop off, and need to be replaced. Because I'm made up of body parts of people from diverse backgrounds, ethnicities, tribes, races, and social classes, thinks the monster, I represent the impossible mix that was never achieved in the past. I am the first Iraqi citizen. And the Iraq of this novel is itself a terrifying place, riven by ethnic and religious conflict, explosively unstable, and possessed by the spirits of vengeance and fear. A place where dead people emerge out of the dungeons of the security services, and non-existent people appear outside the doors of their relatives' houses. Here, the democracy touted by the American invaders, themselves a spectral presence in the novel, never fully materialising, but always haunting the margins of the text. Democracy exists only in inverted commas. Democracy. And in the face of this, the people somehow endure. It's also a very funny novel. Frankenstein in Baghdad was shortlisted for the Man Booker International Prize of 2018 and won both the International Prize for Arabic Fiction and Le Grand Prix de l'Imaginaire in 2017. A film version of the novel is currently under production in the UK. So, to the book, which Ahmed will read from in Arabic and Jonathan in English. Thank you.
Should Jonathan read first? Or?
I believe that's what we will do.
Does Jonathan need a mic?
Would you like to sit or would you like to stand?
I should prefer to stand.
Yeah, there's a mic on the podium.
Okay. The first piece I plan to read describes the completion of the physical construction of the what's-its-name, which is performed by a junk dealer called Hadi, who lives in Bataween, which is a sort of rundown part of central Baghdad. Hadi is it's actually sort of done in the third person, but it's really Hadi describing the events to a group of people in the local cafe, including visiting journalists who've come to explore accounts of an urban legend about a strange creature roaming the streets. So this refers to Hadi, the junk dealer. Looking up at the sky, he saw the clouds breaking up like wisps of cotton wool, as if all at once they had released their water and were now departing. Some of the second-hand furniture was sitting in rainwater, which would damage it, but Hadi wasn't thinking about that. He went to the shed, which he had assembled out of scraps of furniture, iron bars, and sections of kitchen units he had leaned up against the piece of wall that still remained, and he squatted down at one end. The rest of the shed was dominated by a massive corpse, the body of a naked man, with viscous liquids, light in colour, oozing from parts of it. There was only a little blood, some small dried patches on the arms and legs, and some grazes and bruises around the shoulders and neck. It's hard to say what colour the skin was. It didn't have a uniform colour. Hedy moved further into the narrow space around the body and sat down close to the head. The area where the nose should have been was badly disfigured, as if a wild animal had bitten a chunk out of it. Hedy opened the canvas sack and took out the thing. In recent days, he'd spent hours looking for one like it, yet he was still uneasy handling it. It was a fresh nose, still coated in congealed dark red blood. His hand trembling, he positioned it in the black hole in the corpse's face. It was a perfect fit, as if the corpse had its own nose back. Hedy withdrew his hand, wiped his fingers on his clothes, and looked at the face with some dissatisfaction. But his task was now finished. Actually, it wasn't quite finished. He had to sew the nose in place. The nose was all the corpse needed to be complete, so now Hedy was finishing the job. It was a horrible job, one he had undertaken without anyone's help. And somehow, it didn't seem to make any sense, despite all the arguments he used when trying to explain himself to his listeners. I wanted to hand him over to the forensic department because it was a complete corpse that had been left in the streets like rubbish. It's a human being, guys, a person, he told them. But it wasn't a complete corpse. You made it complete, someone objected. I made it complete so it wouldn't be treated as rubbish, so it would be respected like other dead people and given a proper burial, Hedy explained.
نظر إلى السماء فشاهد الغيوم وهي تتفرق مثل نتف قطنية بيضاء، وكأنها نفضت كل ما لديها دفعة واحدة وتستعد للمغادرة الآن. كان بعض الآثاث المستعمل والخزانات الخشبية غارقة في مياه الأمطار، وهذا يعني أنها ستتلف، ولكنه لم يفكر بها. دخل إلى سقيفة خشبية صنعها من بقايا الآثاث والقضبان الحديدية والكناتير المخلعة المسندة بنصف حائط قائم لوحده. قرفص هادي عند طرف منها. كانت المساحة المتبقية مشغولة بشكل كامل بجثة عظيمة، جثة رجل عار تنز من بعض أجزاء جسده المجرح سوائل لزجة فاتحة اللون، ولم يكن هناك إلا القليل من الدماء، بقع صغيرة من دم يابس على الذراعين والساقين، وكدمات وسحجات زرقاء اللون حول الكتفين والرقبة. لم يكن لون الجثة واضحا، لم يكن لها لون متجانس على أي حال. تقدم هادي أكثر داخل الحيز الضيق حول الجثة وجلس قريبا من الرأس. كان موضع الأنف مشوها بالكامل، وكأنه تعرض لقضمة من حيوان متوحش. كان الأنف مفقودا. فتح هادي الكيس الجنفاصي المطوي عدة طيات، ثم أخرج ذلك الشيء الذي بحث عنه طويلا خلال الأيام الماضية، وظل مع ذلك خائفا من مواجهته. أخرج هادي أنفا طازجا ما زال الدم القاني المتجلد عالقا به، ثم بيد مرتجفة وضعه في الثغرة السوداء داخل وجه الجثة، فبدا وكأنه في مكانه تماما، كأنه أنف هذه الجثة قد عاد إليها. سحب يده ومسح أصابعه بملابسه وهو ينظر إلى اكتمال الوجه بشيء من عدم الرضا. ولكن المهمة انتهت الآن. لم تنتهي تماما. عليه أن يخيط الأنف حتى يثبت في مكانه ولا يقع. لم يكن ينقص الجثة كي تغدو كاملة سوى الأنف، وها هو ينتهي الآن من هذا العمل البشع الغريب الذي قام به لوحده من دون مساعدة من أحد، والذي لا يبدو مبررا أو مفهوما رغم كل الحجج التي ساقها أمام مستمعيه. كنت أريد تسليمه للطب العدلي، فهذه جثة كاملة تركوها في الشوارع وعملوها كنفاية. إنه بشر يا ناس، إنسان يا عالم. ليست جثة كاملة، أنت عملتها جثة كاملة. أنا عملتها جثة كاملة حتى لا تتحول إلى نفايات، حتى تحترم مثل الأموات الآخرين وتدفن يا عالم. Thank you.
And our second reading?
Oh, you want a second reading right away? Okay. You don't want to disperse. Should we do Abu Zaydan? I like Abu Zaydan.
Yes.
It's okay? Okay, we'll do Abu Zaydan.
I think you maybe sit it here.
I like to do it.
Okay.
It's better for my...
Okay.
which page is Abu Zaydan? Where is Abu Zaydan?
أبو زيدان في فصل إليشوا أو لا مش في فصل إليشوا.
It can't be the same page number.
No, it's not the same page number. But it's divided up into sections. So I went to the other one to find it. I went from it to the other day, so... Sorry, won't take me a minute. Chapter 6, isn't it? Chapter 6, section.
Chapter 6.
الفصل السادس yes, we are.
Okay.
This is the what's his name is animated by a lost soul of the guard outside a downtown hotel, Novotel, which the soul can't find his body, so he gets into the what's his name. And what's his name takes off under its own steam, and goes on a rampage, a slow rampage. This is the details of its what's its name's second murder, which is, and the victim in this case is a man called Abu Zaydoun, and the passage explains his background. The man was none other than Abu Zaydoun, the old barber, who was all skin and bones. They found him slumped on his white plastic chair in front of the barber shop that had once been his. He'd handed it over to his younger son years ago when he could no longer stand on his own 2 feet. He looked to be asleep, at least to anyone seeing him from afar, but the handle of a pair of stainless steel scissors protruded from the top of his breastbone at the base of his neck. Someone had slipped into the shop while the son was out having a cup of tea at the cart on the corner, where the lane met the main street, and had grabbed the scissors and jabbed them into the old man, who was far off in the fantasy world of those with advanced dementia. There were those who had long expected him to meet such an end. Abu Zaydoun wasn't going to die quietly in bed. Divine justice wouldn't allow it. The medical report said he had died of a heart attack. Maybe the criminal had killed a man who was already dead. The old man's sons were satisfied with this explanation, not having the energy to pursue a vendetta. When Faraj, the estate agent, heard that Abu Zaydoun had been killed, he said, "Poor man, it only took a little push for him to meet the supreme comrade." He spoke with a touch of sarcasm, stretching out the word comrade with a wry smile. Others recalled the man's long career and how he had been responsible for sending so many young men off to war. He had been active in Ba'ath Party organizations, doggedly pursuing all those who deserted from the army or tried to avoid military training. He may have taken part in raids on some houses, and he wasn't short of enemies, but no one knew who had killed him. It clearly wasn't random. At the condolences ceremony, people did their best to cite Abu Zaydoun's virtues, how he had helped others and done favors for those in need, and how in the end his record as a zealous, merciless party member applied only to the first years of the Iran-Iraq War. That's how everyone wanted to remember him. Death gives the dead an aura of dignity, so they say, and makes the living feel guilty in a way that compels them to forgive those who are gone. There was at least one person who wasn't prepared to make excuses for Abu Zaydoun. Justice at some later stage wouldn't do. It had to happen now. Later there would be time for revenge, for constant torment by a just God, infinite torment, because that's how revenge should be. But justice had to be done here on earth, with witnesses present. Elishfa had a vague sense of this when her friend Salim told her in amazement how the wicked old man had been murdered. Salim herself had once vowed to slaughter a sheep at her front door if God took revenge on Abu Zaydoun. But now she had forgotten all that. It had been more than 20 years since Salim, her eldest son, had been killed in battle. But Elishfa hadn't forgotten. Salim had 3 other children and a house bustling with life, whereas old Elishfa had only a mangy cat, some photographs and old furniture. When she heard about the murder of Abu Zaydoun, she thanked God and remembered one of her solemn vows. She would light 20 pink candles on the altar of the Virgin Mary in the Armenian church, and she wouldn't leave the altar till all the candles had burnt down and the 20 wicks had sunk into the molten wax. Then the heartache at the loss of her son would also come to an end. She would see the justice of the Lord, and he would deserve her thanks. If she asked Father Josiah, he would tell her to ask for forgiveness for Abu Zaydoun. She never would. If she asked God or St. George the Martyr or the ghost of her son, they would tell her she didn't need to ask forgiveness for Abu Zaydoun. She was fully entitled to seek revenge because it would strengthen her faith and give her ailing spirit the energy it needed to keep on living.
لم يكن الزلمة سوى أبو زيدون الحلاق، الرجل العجوز ذي الهيئة العظمية الضامرة. وجدوه نائما على كرسيه البلاستيكي الأبيض أمام محل الحلاقة العائد له، والذي تركه لابنه الأصغر منذ سنوات طويلة، منذ أن فقد القدرة على القيام على رجليه. كان نائما أو بدا هكذا لمن ينظر إليه من بعيد، بينما مقص من الستيل يبرز من خلف عظم القص أسفل رقبته. إنه واحد من الأدوات التي يستعملها الحلاق الابن داخل المحل. دخل أحدهم فجأة إلى المحل أثناء غياب الابن لشرب الشاي في عطفة الزقاق مع الشارع التجاري. استل المقص وغرزه عميقا في ترقوة الرجل العجوز الساهي والغارق في غيبوبات الشيخوخة المتقدمة. هناك من توقع هذه النهاية منذ زمن بعيد. لن يموت أبو زيدون في فراشه بشكل هادئ، العدالة الإلهية تأبى ذلك. كان أولاده يحملونه وهو جالس على كرسي البلاستيك الأبيض من البيت حتى محل الحلاقة، يتركونه أمام المحل ويرحلون من دون أن يودعوه أو يسمعونه كلمة طيبة. يلاحق ببصره الغائم من يدخل إلى الزقاق أو يخرج، يرد السلام على معارفه، وفي بعض الأحيان يرفع يده تحية لشبح ما يمر من أمامه. يسمعه ابنه من داخل المحل وهو يرد السلام، فينظر من الباب ولا يرى أحدا أبدا. لاحقا كان التقرير الطبي يقول إن الأب مات بالسكتة القلبية، وربما قتل المجرم رجلا كان ميتا في الأصل. وسيقتنع أولاد العجوز بهذا التفسير لأنهم لا يملكون طاقة لمتابعة ثأر ما. مسكين لم يكن بحاجة إلا لدفعة صغيرة لكي يلتحق بالرفيق الأعلى، قال فرج الدلال في تعليقه على خبر مقتل أبي زيدون. ولم يخلو ذلك من سخرية وهو يمط مفردة الرفيق مع ابتسامة صفراء. استحضر آخرون سيرة الرجل خلال السنوات الطويلة الماضية، وكيف أنه تسبب بترحيل العديد من الشباب إلى الجبهات. كان عاملا نشطا في منظمات حزب البعث، وكان يلاحق بإخلاص وصبر كل الهاربين من الخدمة العسكرية والمتخلفين عن الالتحاق بمعسكرات التدريب. ولربما أسهم في عمليات اقتحام لبعض البيوت لم يكن ينقصه الأعداء أو المبغضون، ولكن أحدا لم يعرف من قام بهذه الجريمة. لا شك أنه ليس حدثا عابرا، واجتهد البعض في مجلس العزاء لاستحضار فضائل أبي زيدون، وكيف كان يساعد الآخرين ويقدم الخدمات للمحتاجين، كما أن سيرته كحزبي متحمس وقاس تتعلق في نهاية المطاف بالسنوات الأولى للحرب العراقية الإيرانية. هكذا كان يريد الجميع تذكر الرجل، والموت كما يرون يضفي وقاره على الميت ويدفع الأحياء للشعور بذنب يستدعي الغفران للموتى. كان هناك شخص واحد على الأقل غير مستعد للبحث عن أعذار لأبي زيدون أو إعطائه غفرانا مجانيا على ما قام به خلال حياته. لا فائدة من العدالة لاحقا، يجب أن تكون هنا أولا، أما لاحقا فسيكون الانتقام الرهيب، عذاب متصل من الرب العادل، عذاب لا نهاية له على الإطلاق. فهكذا يكون الانتقام. أما العدالة فيجب أن يحسم أمرها هنا على الأرض وتحت أنظار الشهود. هذا ما شعرت به أم دانيال بشكل غامض وهي تسمع صديقتها أم سليم تروي لها مذهولة كيف قتل العجوز الشرير. أم سليم نفسها التي نذرت أن تذبح خروفا أمام باب بيتها لو انتقم الله لها من أبي زيدون، ولكنها الآن نسيت كل شيء. لقد مضت أكثر من 20 سنة على مقتل ابنها الأكبر سليم في الحرب، لكن أم دانيال لم تنسى. أم سليم لديها 3 أولاد آخرين، ولديها بيت صاخب بالحركة والحياة. ليس لدى العجوز إليشوا سوى قط منتوف الشعر وصور مؤاثاة قديم. سمعت بمقتل أبي زيدون فشكرت الله مع نفسها، واستحضرت أحد نذورها المثيرة، 20 شمعة وردية توقدها أمام مذبح العذراء في كنيسة الأرمل المجاورة، 20 شمعة بعدد سني حياة ابنها الذي انتزعه أبو زيدون من بين يديها. ولا تغادر المذبح حتى تذوب الشموع جميعها وتنطفئ شعلتها 20 داخل الشمع المذاب، لتنطفئ حرارة قلبها على ابنها وترى عدالة الرب ويستحق الشكر منها. لم تطلب الغفران لأبي زيدون كما سيخبرها أبونا يوشيا، لأنها لن تخبره بالقصة أبدا. سيخبرها الله أو مارغورغيس الشهيد أو قطها نابو أو شوح ابنها العائد بأن من العدالة أن تفعل ذلك. لها الحق الكامل بالتشفي، فهذا يقوي إيمانها ويعطي روحها الذاوية طاقة تحتاجها للاستمرار بالحياة.
Thank you. I'll kick off the questions with a question for Ahmed, if I could. There's water up the back. There we go. The novel, of course, is set in 2002.
2005.
I'm sorry?
2005.
2005, I beg your pardon. I don't know why I thought it was 2002, but it's very sort of close. It's very early days in the recent troubled history of Iraq. I wondered, would it be possible to set the novel now? And if so, what might it look like, given the intervening 13 years?
الرواية في بداية عام 2005 وهي يعني في بدايات سنوات الصراع، لكن لو قدر لك أن تكتب الرواية الآن في هذه السنوات، نعم، في هذه الأيام التي نراها من الصراع، هل ممكن أن تغير أي شيء فيها؟
لا، إذا لم أكتب، يعني هذا كله أسئلة افتراضية. إذا لم أكتب الرواية والآن فكرت أن أكتبها، أكيد راح تطلع رواية مختلفة، يعني بالتأكيد. يعني
It's a hypothetical question, but if I am to write it now, obviously it's going to be different. There will be so many changes in the novel.
لكن أعتقد أن القضايا الأساسية اللي تناقشها الرواية قضايا يعني في الواقع، القضايا الموجودة في الواقع، القضايا الأساسية اللي تناقشها الرواية هي ما زالت مستمرة وما زالت تستدعي النقاش وتستدعي المعالجة ويعني مستمرة.
However, the main issues that the novel is trying to investigate and discuss are still valid, and they are still to be addressed in the novel, if I am to write it now.
الكتاب الجديد الذي سيصدر يعني كتاب قصصي هو الذي سيصدر بعد شهر ربما فيه معالجة يعني قضايا مشابهة للموجودة في الرواية.
My book, which is about to be published,
Collection stories.
It's a collection of stories. Also discuss the very close topics to the one that I have discussed in the novel that I am doing today.
Thank you. Nick, do you want to ask a
Yes.
translation-related question? I'll pass that along to you.
Pass the mic, please. Thank you very much. Jonathan, you've translated a number of works from Arabic, I believe, including at least one book by Hassan Blassim. I don't know if you've translated from any other languages. Possibly you speak some other languages. Maybe you've considered translating from other languages. I'm interested to know if Arabic presents particular challenges, if there's anything different about translating from Arabic into English, if there's anything different about that than if you were translating from another language.
I haven't done any formal literary translation from any other language. I have considered doing such translation from French, but the opportunity has not arisen yet. My French is fairly good. I worked in Tunis for 2.5 years and spoke it every day. But after working as a translator for 10 years now, pretty much full time, I've pretty much concluded that understanding the original text is only less than half of the work. It's probably about 30% of the work. The rest of the work, the 70%, is writing in English, how to write in English. The text inspires you with an image or a sort of abstract impression which you then have to convey in English, and that's most of the work. So I take a fairly Chomskyan approach to language. I really do think that essentially we're saying the same things. All human beings say pretty much the same things. Of course there are subtle differences, and language has minor influences on the way we think, but they are quite small, I think. I know that Steven Pinker, as you're probably well aware, wrote a whole book on the subject and could come up with very few instances where language truly changes the way we think. There are a few examples, like colours are especially problematic, and directional concepts, and some people locate things according to the points of the compass, whereas we don't do that. So it's a different way of seeing the world. But otherwise, no, I don't. I think that although Arabic structurally is a very unusual language, very unusual, very strange to our way of thinking, once you get to the message that it conveys, then it's a perfectly intelligible message.
Mind if we kick in with questions?
Go for it, Jess.
Is that all right? So it's kind of a follow-on question from that, I suppose. I mean, I'm much more familiar with poetry translation than I am with fictional translation. And you probably know there's becoming quite an established method for poetry translation, which is to use a bridge translation.
Yes.
So you often work at the Poetry Translation Centre in London. We had Georgian poets here 2 nights ago, and the translation there you have a poet working with a translator. So the translator will do a literal or a supposedly literal translation, and then the poet will create poetry with no knowledge of the original language.
I'm well aware of this. I actually have taken part in that process.
Yeah.
I'm very unhappy with that process, I must say.
That's always.
But that may be because of the personalities of the people involved, and I won't mention any names. But I had the impression that the people who were sponsoring this or running this process were much less interested in the meaning of the original than they were in using it as a vague inspiration for writing their own poetry. And I didn't think that was really translation. I didn't feel that they were interested in exploring the associations of the original text. They were happy just to take a kind of a word that's thrown out and not explore the semantic context of it at all. So I was very unhappy. It may be that was my only experience of it, and I have heard other similar tales from others who've been involved in it. It may be possible to do it, but it should be possible to do it without using for somebody who understands the original text to do the whole job himself or herself.
So I guess you've anticipated my question, which is, does this happen with fiction, and should it? You know, is it possible to make a translation without a knowledge, working with that bridging method of the original language? I mean, I think your
My answer is almost certainly going to be no.
Yes.
I have seen, I'm reluctant to use names because I don't like to criticize other translators, but I was looking at a translation that was done that way in the 1980s of a text by the Palestinian writer Hassan Kanafani, and I thought it was very unsatisfactory, really very unsatisfactory. And I'm not quite sure what the maybe it was just that, you know, the people doing it were not very good at it. But no, I wasn't. I've never seen it done. Of course, there are examples of people who've done it from other languages. I've never seen it done really well from Arabic to English.
Should we pass that back to Annie?
Thank you. This is a Gothic question. I have to, really. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, obviously a Gothic novel. The Gothic very frequently has something nasty from the past coming to wreak havoc upon the present. And I wondered, in the light of that, if you could say more about the way the novel treats the Iraqi past. I mean, we've seen references to the Ba'athist party in the past, but there's also quite a bit in the shadows about the Iran-Iraq war. And I wondered if you could just say a little bit more about what haunts this novel, quite apart from the American invasion.
هذه الرواية تستدعي الكثير من الأسئلة حول ماضي العراق، لكن السؤال هنا هل تعتقد أنك في هذه الرواية تعالج أيضا قضايا لها صلة بالحرب العراقية الإيرانية، قضايا أخرى تتعلق في ماضي العراق غير الغزو الأمريكي للعراق؟
يعني هو الرواية تتحدث عن شخصيات في المجتمع العراقي، في البيئة العراقية، وهذه الشخصيات يعني عاشت تجارب عنيفة وتجارب يعني قاسية خلال 30 سنة. يعني من التبسيط القول إنه الحدث الفظيع الوحيد الذي مررنا به هو الاحتلال الأمريكي. الاحتلال الأمريكي والغزو الأمريكي هو مجرد حدث في سلسلة أحداث عنيفة ومدمرة سابقة يعني، وكل هاي الأحداث يعني تراكم هاي الأحداث على مدى 30 أو 40 سنة هي تشكل ما يمكن أن نسميه المأساة العراقية أو التراجيديا العراقية.
In the novel there are characters who lived for like 30 years, so it's a matter of simplification if we say that these these characters all only suffered from the invasion, from the American invasion of Iraq. And in the Iraqi history, there are more than just the American invasion of Iraq. There are plenty of events that affected these characters and made a tragedy and catastrophe of the Iraqi of the Iraqi history, and those characters affected by it.
يعني مثلا أنا على مستوى الشخصي يعني أنا لما يعني دخلت يعني الصف الأول ابتدائي يعني في المدرسة، بدأت الحرب العراقية الإيرانية، وكل يعني أهلي وعمامي وأخوالي وكلهم يعني ذهبوا للحرب، ويعني واحد من عمامي فقد واثنين أصيبا بعوق يعني، وبعدين والدي أيضا يعني أصيب بعوق يعني انقطع إصبع يعني عوق بسيط يعتبر يعني. وإلى أن يعني غزو الكويت والحرب 91 إلى أن بعدين أنا صرت جندي وخدمت يعني 3 مرات في الجيش يعني في الجيش العراقي.
On a personal level, for example, I went to school when I was a kid, and I still remember the war. What happened to my family? There are family members who went to war. I lost my uncle. 2 of my uncles have been disabled because of the war. My brother, my father had a disability. He lost his finger. And you know, even the invasion, the Iraqi invasion of Kuwait in 1991 also. Last point.
يعني إنه يعني استمرت إلى أن بعدين أنا نفسي شخصيا خدمت في الجيش 3 مرات.
Even me personally, I served in the Iraqi army.
فعمليا أنا يعني حياتي كلها عايشة مع الحرب يعني.
So all my life I have suffered from the consequences of the war.
وجاء جاء الغزو الأمريكي هو كحلقة الأخيرة في الحياة يعني.
And the American invasion was just like one event of this series of miseries and tragedies that Iraq lived.
الناس يعني إنه فلا يمكن الحديث عن يعني عمق المأساة العراقية، لا يمكن الحديث عن ما جرى في يعني بعد الغزو الأمريكي من دون أن يعني نشوف جذور لل.
So it's almost impossible.
يعني بعيدة يعني.
It's almost impossible to investigate the consequences of the American invasion of Iraq without looking back to the history, to the past events that preceded the American invasion of Iraq.
Yes, thank you. It's that sense of a suffering past is very, very strong in the novel. But also, it's a very funny book. There seems to be a way in which the characters, and it's a fantastic cast of characters you've assembled. I feel I know them. I feel I've lived, you know, alongside them. They're funny people. I mean, humour seems to be the glue that sticks them together in the face of absolute atrocity.
هو أيضا كتاب مضحك ومرح. نعم. والشخصيات يعني تربطها قصص مرحة. Sorry,
I don't know if it was a question.
It wasn't a question.
It was an appreciation. It was I can turn it into a question.
لا أنا ممكن يعني هو على موضوع المرح أو البلاك هومر بلاك كوميدي إنه أنا أشوف إنه الميلودراما يعني التصوير الواقع يعني من زاوية الميلودراما فقط. هذا التصوير غير يعني هذا غير واقعي. هذا تصوير يعني متحيز.
Presenting the reality from a melodrama perspective only, Ahmed thinks it's unrealistic. It's not valid. So the funny element of the book is very necessary.
يعني في كل يعني الحياة هي مجموعة يعني خليط من المتناقضات. لا يمكن أن تكون هي تستجيب لي يعني انفعال واحد أو لون واحد، هي خلطة متناقضات دائما يعني.
So life is a mixture of contradictions. So there's no way you can actually look at it from one angle.
يعني أنا دائما أقول إنه كثير من الحوادث الصادمة والمخيفة والمرعبة أو المؤلمة بعد أن نتخطاها بزمن من الممكن أن نرويها على أنها قصص مضحكة.
I always say that when we actually come across painful, shocking events, when these events pass and we look back at them, we can actually narrate them from a funny way, from a funny angle.
يعني في الجانب الكوميدي موجود دائما في أكبر، يعني الجانب الكوميدي يعطي للقصة واقعية أكثر.
That funny element gives the novel a touch of reality.
Yes, thank you. I'm going to have one more and then I'll stop. One of the funniest and strangest parts of the book is the tracking and pursuit department, which, I read very much in the tradition of like Joseph Heller's Catch-22. It's the absurdity of war. It's the general, craziness that happens in such dangerous times. And it led me to wondering about whether there is such a widespread belief in the supernatural, in the ability to predict the future in Iraqi culture, or whether this is a bit of creative license that you're deploying just to explore how crazy and absurd things were.
هل ممكن البيئة العراقية تؤمن بالجوانب الخفية؟ هل هذه الجوانب حاضرة في الرواية؟
يعني أنا دائما أقول إنه يعني في مرة في فرنسا في مهرجان عن الأدب الخيالي والأدب الفانتازيا، إنه أنا لا أؤمن، أنا شخصيا لا أؤمن بالانفصال يعني الواقعي عن الخيالي أو الغرائبي عن الواقعي. لا أعتقد أن هناك يعني حد فاصل حقيقي.
I don't believe that there is actually a split or we can divide between or separate between the supernatural and the real aspects of life.
لأن نحن يعني دائما إحنا ما نقول عنه أنه واقع هو في الحقيقة صور في ذهننا عن الواقع. صعب أصلاً.
I think what we look at, what we describe as reality is actually our perception of reality. It's the images we make of this reality.
أنا كنت يعني وهذا يعني موضوع يعني جدا قوي في المجتمع.
This is a very strong hypothesis in society.
أنا يعني لما كنت في الخدمة العسكرية مثلا example إنه كنت على قمة جبل مع مجموعة من الجنود، كان هؤلاء الجنود يؤمنون بأن الجن خارج في الليل يدخنون يعني. لكن أنا بعدين لما تحققت الموضوع اكتشفت إن هذه يسموها طابوحة، هذه الحشرة المضيئة.
Very funny question. So when I was in the army, serving the army, I was with some soldiers on the top of a mountain, and these soldiers actually believed that genes were actually smoking cigarettes in the night. But then I discovered that it was not, obviously cigarettes or genes smoking. It was like that insect that
fireflies,
makes,
fireflies.
Exactly, that kind of insect.
They thought they were
ظلت
gin.
يعني بقيت في هذا المكان حوالي 6 أشهر، وخلال ال6 أشهر كل ليلة أنا يعني أحاول أن أقنعهم بأنه ما في جن، وأنه لا يوجد جن يدخن سجائر يعني، لكنهم لم يقتنعوا.
For 6 months later, I sat with them and tried to convince them that there were no jinns and there was no smoking actually. They were never convinced.
لأن يعني في الحقيقة كان مكان مخيف وكنا يعني معزولين وكان يعني كان بإمكانك في أي لحظة أن يعني تنزلق وتسقط في الوادي فكل هذه يعني كل هذه الظروف كانت تشجع على اختراع الجن.
Actually, it was a dreadful experience, and we lived in a very scary place at the time. We served in a very scary place at the time, and this environment, this scary environment, it helped to create this, imagination that we believed in.
فنفس الشيء هو يعني مع كثير من الأشياء في الحياة العراقية. الخوف يخلق الإشباح، الأمل، رغبة بالشعور بالأمان. فالأشياء اللي تبدو غريبة وخارقة موجودة بالإضافة إلى أن الدين يشجع على هاي الكائنات يعني.
So the reality that Iraqis live in Iraq, they're wanting for peace, they're wanting for hope. All these elements actually encourage Iraqis to believe in these supernatural powers, and also religion plays a part in it.
Thank you. Jonathan, I want to ask a question about the difference between interpreters and translators. The understanding, the superficial understanding I have is that the difference is to do with speech and the written word. And indeed, on the panel we have an interpreter and we have a translator, and that would seem to bear that out. But I wonder if the reality is actually more complicated, and if there's something to talk about there.
Well, it's mainly my own laziness that accounts for the sense person. I have done some interpretation over the last few days, but it is actually it requires intense concentration, and I find it. If somebody else can do it, I'm very happy to have somebody else to do it. But it is a different process, of course, because we have time. I mean, the translators have time. You can sleep on a problem, and I'm a bit of a perfectionist. So when I do interpretation, I don't like to miss anything, and if I miss a word, then it upsets me, but I don't like to hold up the proceedings by saying, what was that again? So it's interpreting is a much harder task because of the time factor. But of course they have many similarities at the same time.
Thank you. I wonder if I should open it up to the floor. Would that be okay, Vinny? Are there any questions? Zavi?
Just to follow on the translation side of things, I was wondering about the word, what's its name? Now, I know nothing about Arabic, so but I was wondering if there was sort of like a deeper meaning in the Arabic that made you choose that.
The Iraqi Arabic is almost exactly the same.
Right.
Shisme, which is an abbreviation for Shu Ismu, what is its name. So it's almost exactly the same. It's a kind of abbreviated form it's even more abbreviated than what's its name, but it's pretty much the same thing. Yeah. So there's no, I actually I never really thought about using any other translation for that. It just, as soon as I saw it, I knew what's its name, and that's it. There's no big secret or puzzle about it.
Which could of course become a question then about why call the creature what's its name rather than any other thing.
Well, actually, the creature does have many names in the book. It appears under
the one with no name.
The one with no name, the criminal X, and there are other versions of it. Different people give it different names.
And Frankenstein.
And Frankenstein, yeah. Well, Frankenstein is not, of course, the monster, but
Yes.
it's never called a monster. In fact, it's never.
That's why I was wondering.
It's never called a monster in the book, as far as I remember. And the what's its name actually is a. I don't know whether you've read the book, but it's as you've discovered, it's quite a mix. It's quite a hybrid creature. I mean, it has many aspects to it. sometimes it's very gentle and talkative, and sometimes it's brutal and silent, and you know, it's all things to all men.
Like the rest of us.
Yeah, my question is, the novel being written like in an intensive language, Arabic language. How did you address the hidden part of the novel, which is the feeling, the emotional, the emotions?
I think for a translator, the most important criterion for difficulty is how clear the writer writes. If a writer writes clearly, it's a relatively simple process. If a writer writes in obscurely, and you have to keep asking many questions, that's what complicates the process. I think Ahmed writes quite clearly, so the message comes through quite strong. So I don't think that, maybe there are hidden elements that I haven't seen, so as a translator is always terrified that they've missed something important, but nobody's yet told me that I have, so if there is anything, then tell me now.
I know Ahmed because he's a native speaker, and he lived in Baghdad, and he lived with those elements that create the novel itself. So he knows every single bit of the novel. He might live every single bit. So my question is, how did you deal with the feeling and emotion that Ahmed feels?
That's a really. I mean, how could any translator possibly share the emotions of the author other than through the text? I don't know how I would do that. I mean, in the end, the text is what we have. Of course, I asked Ahmed many questions. I think about 100 questions, 150 questions, something like that.
Many questions.
Many questions. So, you know, there are obviously limits to the possibilities of translation. But then, would a reader, someone reading the Arabic text in Morocco, would he be able to read Ahmed's mind more so? I don't know.
As far as translating, was there anything that you found to be especially difficult? You said that if you had a problem that you would sleep on it being a perfectionist. So I was wondering if you could think of maybe one example that was especially difficult for you to translate.
No, I wish I could give you an easy answer to that, and I wish I wish I had prepared myself properly on that. It's been like several years since I did, and I've done a lot of other texts in the meantime. So I mean, what I usually say when I'm asked this about this book is that there's a lot of Iraqi colloquial in it, and I'm not particularly familiar with Iraqi colloquial. There is a good dictionary of it, which helps a lot. But Iraqi colloquial is quite different from modern standard Arabic. I mean, and also it has some quite strange features, which I'm more familiar with Egyptian and Levantine Arabic than with Iraqi. But on the bigger one, gosh, I wish, what I find particularly problematic in translation of any kind is our languages are quite vague about emotional states. I mean, emotional states don't map onto each other from language to language at all. And the same goes for sounds and forms of light and things like this. I mean, we have so many words for sounds and forms of light, flashing and glittering and glinting and so on. And emotions like, being upset or being annoyed or being fed up or being angry or being, whatever. We have such a vast range of those words, and other languages equally have a vast range of those. And the semantic range of each word, they don't match each other in any way. I mean, they overlap in strange ways. So it's always, and unless the context, unless it's obvious from the context what exactly the emotional state is, it's sometimes quite hard to pin that down. And sometimes I do need to ask the authors just to kind of give me a few other closely related words which will help me place it on the map of emotions.
I thought I saw it. Yes, there's a question. Jim.
Can I ask a question to Ahmed, which is just to talk a little bit about some of the writers that are important to you and influences both Iraqi or Arabic language and worldwide, and also perhaps to say a bit about some other contemporary Iraqi writers. Who should we be watching out for, and who should be translated into other languages?
يسأل عن آراء الكتاب الآخرين، الكتاب العراقيين الآخرين بالذات منهم المعاصرين الآن. هل من توصيات أو هل من كتاب محددين أثروا بكتابة الرواية أو أثروا بك شخصيا وممكن أن نتابعهم؟
يعني إذا نحكي عن يعني كتاب عرب يعني أنا تأثرت بهم، يعني قبل قليل ذكر جوناثان رايت أعتقد شيئا عن غسان كنباني. يعني أنا أحب جدا يعني غسان كنباني، وكذلك جبر إبراهيم جبرة، عبد الرحمن منيف، يعني عبد الحكيم قاسم المصري، ومن العراق عيسى إسماعيل الصقر. يعني وللأسف كلهم هذول الأشخاص ماتوا يعني ميتين.
كان بيسأل عن الكتاب الأجانب كمان بعد.
يعني الكتاب الأجانب بالتأكيد يعني قائمة واسعة. يعني أنا كنت أقرأ أي شيء يترجم إلى العربية يعني من الكتاب الأجانب. يعني ما أعرف يعني نحدد. يعني قائمة كثيرة يعني نحكي عنها بعدين نحكي عن الأجانب.
نعم. Actually, there are a wide or plenty of Arabic writers and Arabic novelists who I am personally interested in reading their literature, such as the Palestinian writer Ghassan Kanafani, Jabra Ibrahim Jabra, Abdul Rahman Munif, Isa Ismail Saqar, and I missed one. There was one.
عبد الحكيم قاسم.
And عبد الحكيم قاسم.
Egyptian.
The Egyptian writer. Most of these writers actually have already died. There are also a long list of foreign writers, and I am personally have read lots of stories translated into Arabic from English. It's a long list, and
يعني مثلا يعني إذا تحب إنه أذكر أسماء مثلا بورخس.
For instance,
بورخس يعني يعني من الخيال العلمي جي ويلز and جول فيرن يعني دول اللي
H.G. Wells.
Yeah.
H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. H.G. Wells and Jules Verne.
Yeah, I'm not personally familiar with these names. So. Anything to add?
Jess, there's a question.
Sarah, were you gesturing?
No,
No, sorry.
go for it.
Go on, Lisa, to go.
It read to me like a kind of novel of the failure of communication, so it's really interesting to hear about the kind of issues in translation as well. But in terms of kind of nobody being able to speak the same language as any other person, so I was interested in your use of both this kind of gothic mode and the humour in it as providing other ways in kind of expressing emotional truths. In the failure of kind of communication in terms of the legal, political, bureaucratic side of things. So I just wondered whether that was a kind of deliberate choice or something that came naturally when you're trying to think about how to represent this kind of situation.
It's a difficult one.
أعتقد أن It's all right. المقصود هنا أن هناك عدة عناصر في الرواية. التركيز على الناحية الفكاهية الحنيئة الماضي أو مناقشة قضايا الماضي. هل هذه العوامل هي ناتجة عن سوء التواصل أو مشكلة سوء التواصل في فهم المعاني في العراق؟ كانوا
We lost them.
Was it a kind of deliberate decision to use things like horror and comedy to convey emotional truths in the failure of language to represent these kind of very real horrors?
Okay. هذا المزيج من الرعب في الرواية والناحية أيضا الفكاهية، هل هذا المزج الذي استخدمته هو ناتج عن فشل اللغة في التعبير؟
لا، أنا ما أعتقد. خلينا ما أكمل. ما أعتقد إنه الموضوع له علاقة باللغة. يعني أنا استخدمت في الرواية يعني مزجت بين مجموعة مستويات، يعني المستوى البوليسي، المستوى رواية الرعب، والرواية الاجتماعية السياسية، وأيضا القصة الميتافيزيقية، نقاش قضايا المخلص والخلاص والدين فإنه وأعتقد أنه يعني التحدي هو أنه كيف تصنع قصة متماسكة من هذه المستويات العديدة اللي هي شغالة في الواقع.
I've tried to discuss the novel or to present the novel from many perspectives and at many levels. It's a police topic. It's the horror is there, the metaphysics element also, and it's also a social political novel. So I've tried to discuss and to address a few topics or more than one topic in this novel in order to overcome, or to address this complex reality that Iraq is.
وأعتقد إنه يعني هذا هو مجال تحدي يعني الكتابة، إنه أنت لا تكتب قصة بسيطة، وإنما تذهب لتكتب قصة مركبة وقصة ذات أبعاد عديدة وفيها دلالات عديدة. إنه هو هذا التحدي اللي يبرز قدرة الكاتب وموهبة الكاتب.
And this actually the actual challenge that the writer or any writer faces, how to address a complex reality, how to describe this reality from more than one angle, and this is what makes actually a good writer.
Hi Ahmed, thank you for writing this book. I've not actually read it yet, but I will do.
Thank you.
I was just wanting to know about the literary scene in Baghdad and in Mosul and in other places in Iraq at the moment. We've read a bit about a resurgence of arts and culture in Mosul after ISIS. So I wanted to know just how young authors coming up are dealing with the stories of Iraq at the moment, with the post-ISIS moment. How are they writing about that, and what does the scene look like to you?
السؤال عن البعد الأدبي في العراق والنواحي الأدبية بالذات في مدن مثل العراق والموصل. سمعنا كثيرا عن الخراب الذي مس البنية الفنية في الموصل على يد داعش. هل الكتاب العراقيون تطرقوا إلى هذه القضايا، أو كيف تأثروا أيضا في هذا الواقع ما بعد داعش؟
يعني هو احنا يعني احنا هو بلد واقع تحت يعني ظروف حرب في العراق، فأكيد لا يوجد هناك يعني شيء مستقر بشكل كامل حتى الآن. يعني بالتأكيد إذا تحدثنا عن المجتمع والبلد يعني مو عن الكتابة، بالتأكيد نحن نطمح إلى أن يحل السلام وتبدأ عملية الإعمار والتنمية، ومنها إعمار وتنمية الجوانب الفنية والثقافية.
Iraq is a country that has suffered a war and has suffered a long period of instability. It's not only this is not related to writing. It's also related to the whole society, to all aspects of life. in Iraq, and we are longing for peace. And hopefully, once this has achieved, we can rebuild the literary reality in Iraq and rework it.
يعني الكتاب يعني كان يكتبون في الأدب أو في الصحافة أو يعني هم لديهم جانب تقني يعني خاص إنه هم يركزون على إنتاج أعمال أدبية وإبداعية، وأيضا لديهم نشاط مدني يعني مشاركة في القضايا، النقاش العام والتعليق على الأحداث السياسية والاجتماعية والعمل تظاهرات وعمل، يعني هم يساهمون في كأشخاص يعني في النشاط الاجتماعي العام من أجل يعني حماية الثقافة ودعم الثقافة ودعم الفنون.
The writers in Iraq, they are not only addressing the literary aspect or the literary issues in Iraq. They also they have contributions to the civil life. They get engaged in social, political events, demonstrations, etc. So they have both a literary responsibility, let's say, and also a social and a cultural responsibility in reshaping the social life, or sorry, the cultural life in Iraq.
An example, اليوم مثلا اكو عمل جدي جاي يصير يعني من قبل يعني المنظمات والمثقفين لإعادة إحياء مكتبة الموصل، لإعادة بناء مكتبة الموصل، وأنا الآن أيضا أقول لكم يعني ساعدوا مكتبة الموصل التي دمرتها داعش يعني.
So an example of this activity that the writers of Iraq are interested in and are involved in is the re-establishing and the re-creation of the library of Mosul, and this is an invitation to everyone to participate in this endeavor.
It's going to have to be really quick.
It will. It's quite a good last one actually. One of the reasons this event is taking place is because Manchester became in October a UNESCO City of Literature. Everybody knows that. And Baghdad was already a UNESCO City of Literature, which is a recognition of the importance of literature in the city and in the life of the city. What do you think about that designation? Do you think it's important? What do you think it recognises, and what opportunities do you see in it for Baghdad as a city of literature?
أحد الأسباب التي من أجلها عقد هذا اللقاء هنا في جامعة مانشستر هو أن مانشستر سوف تصبح عاصمة الثقافة، عاصمة الأدب، عاصمة يونسكو للأدب أو مدينة يونسكو للأدب العالمية. بغداد أيضا أخذت هذا اللقب في السابق. ما رأيك بهذا الاستحقاق الذي نسب لبغداد، وما هي الفرص التي جلبته؟ هل هناك أي طرق أو إمكانية للاستفادة من هذا اللقب ومن هذه المكانة التي منحت لبغداد عالميا؟
يعني اللي حصل اختيار بغداد عاصمة الثقافة العربية مش باليونسكو.
خلي يونسكو.
يعني وضح لنا.
Actually, Baghdad was chosen as the city of literature.
Arabic literature.
Of Arabic literature, not UNESCO. It's not on the international level.
I'm not sure. Maybe
it's the Arabic literature.
ربما كان لما بالتنسيق مع اليونسكو ما.
Maybe in cooperation with UNESCO.
I'm not sure.
But it's the city of Arabic literature.
لكن لو الحدث اللي صار كان يعني الفائدة منه قليلة.
But to be honest, Baghdad hasn't really benefited from this title.
لأن المؤسسات التي تولت القيام بهذا الحدث يعني هي مؤسسات فاسدة.
Because the institutions that tackled this event and that have actually sponsored this event, they are all corrupt.
I know the director, Sadiq Mohammed. You maybe know him, but I think what he says is it's very difficult in Baghdad. He said, we don't even have electricity some of the time, so putting on an event or whatever is a tremendous challenge. but maybe, I suppose, I'm involved with UNESCO City Literature for Manchester. We want to develop a closer relationship with other cities of literature, and maybe that can make it more meaningful in the future.
يقول أنه يعرف المسؤول عن هذا الأمر سعدي محمد وشرح له كم من الصعوبات التي اعترضت مسؤولي
huge money.
فيقول أنه هو شخصيا منخرط في العمل في الاستفادة من منح مانشستر هذا اللقب، فيريد أن يرى رأيك الشخصي ليستفيد منه في تنظيم هذه الفعالية في مانشستر.
يعني أعتقد إنه الملاحظة الأهم هو أنه تنفتح على إذا هذا كان عمل مؤسسي، يعني عمل تابع للمؤسسة، أنه ينفتح على المجتمع، يعني يشوف الشباب، يشوف الناس، اقتراحات الناس، أنه كيف ممكن يساهموا في هذا الحدث يعني.
It's very important for the institutions that are involved in this event is to open to the people and to see what the people think and how they can actually contribute to this event. So it shouldn't be only an institutional event; it should be a popular event that everyone is involved in Manchester.
يعني إذا تنفتح على المجتمع وتحاول، يعني أنت تروح على الناس، يعني مو تنتظر هم يجون، أنت تروح على الناس، من الممكن أن تتفاجأ بمقترحات جميلة أنت مو في بالك يعني.
So it's very important to be open to the people of Manchester, and you'll be surprised by the comments, by the suggestions that you hear from people, and this will contribute to the success of the event.
وأن إحنا بالعراقي نقول أو بالعربي نقول يخبز، أن لا يسلق، يعني مش سلق بيض، إنه يعني واحد يعطي للموضوع، يعطي وقت للتجهيز، للتحضير، يعطي وقت كافي.
So it's very important to take time for the event to be done properly, not to be done like in a rush or anything. So that gives it the time to flourish and for ideas to be implemented.
Third, آخر شيء إنه لا ننسى إن اليوم إحنا في عصر السوشيال ميديا وعصر الصورة، ولازم يعني إنه أيا كان الفعاليات الثقافية لازم تكون يعني تشترك مع هذا الواقع الجديد.
And not forget that we live in the age of social media. So it's very important that any cultural events are represented and are covered by social media.
Thank you. So I think that brings us quite neatly to the end of this evening. Thank you to everyone for coming. Thank you to Ahmed, to Jonathan, and of course to the British Council that financially supported us. Jim Hinks from the British Council is here with us. So thanks to you all. Thank you.